So welcome to spring in northern England. And here we are in northern England, and we are at the start of April. We have blackthorn blossom, which is pretty much over now. It's been ready probably for the last 2 or so weeks. We've got oilseed rape, which is in full bloom now in the fields just behind me here. Dandelions are out, and we have all of this lovely blossom ready for these bees to go to work, find nutrition, find their carbohydrates and their proteins. But when we actually look at the weather, the bees are here and they're simply not flying.
So if you've been keeping bees for many years, you'll be aware that our climate is changing. And it's not a local problem, it's a problem faced by beekeepers right across Europe and beyond. And I wanted to highlight that it's not just in York. We have these problems where the weather stops the bees from foraging on blossom that's just next to them. It's also in other parts of Europe. So let's take a tour and move over to have a look at what's happening in Bologna in northern Italy.
So here we are now in the autumn, on a chilly autumn morning in Bologna at CREA, at the apiary of CREA, our coordinator for this project. And we all know that our climate's changing, and it was evident here in Bologna just this year, where they had quite a lot of problems with flooding. So we're seeing this more and more. We're seeing our climate changing, we're seeing these extreme weather events, more intensive periods of rain, periods of drought, hot periods where we have these heat waves coming through. And what Work Package 6 is all about is trying to better understand how these climatic changes might be driving changes in the diseases that we see in our honeybees.
Work Package 6 is a great example of collaborations right across Europe. We have 9 partners and everybody is contributing something to try to help us understand how climate might be acting as a driver to parasites and pathogens and how best we might mitigate their impact. So when we're talking about pests and pathogens, we're talking about biotic threats. Things like bacteria or microsporidia or mites are all biotic threats to our honeybees. And in this particular work package, we're interested in considering how abiotic drivers are contributing to those threats. And the abiotic drivers that we're particularly interested in are things like beekeeping management. The climate that we've already talked about can actually prevent our bees from foraging, and the knock-on consequences of that lack of foraging to the nutrition of honeybees and how they might become malnourished and then perhaps be less resilient to these biotic threats. More specifically, the areas that we're going to be working in are to build models that help us to understand how climate change will impact Varroa and honeybee biology together within 2 models that interact with each other, and to also account for perhaps new innovative management practices that might be brought into place to manage Varroa in the future. And these models will account for those management interventions as well as changing climate. We're also going to be trying to produce maps of different diseases from across Europe and from different territories in Europe. And we want to try to better understand which weather parameters might be driving those epidemics and those disease epidemics. But we also want to see how these extreme weather events like rain or windy periods that prevent bees from foraging, how they might be impacting their nutrient state and making those bees more susceptible to these biotic threats. We've also got one eye on invasive pest species like small hive beetle and particularly Tropilelaps mites, which aren't even just knocking on the door of Europe, they've been found in Europe now. And so we want to try to collate together, working with experts from across the world that have been dealing with these different invasive pests for many years. We want to work with them to collate protocols that help us to manage these threats. We want to increase the preparedness of the European beekeeping community to be able to deal with these threats when they come over and find themselves in our territories in future years. And finally, we're really interested in trying to improve the capabilities of our bees to be resilient in the face of new diseases or diseases that we might find emerging in the future. And to that end, we're working very closely with beebreed.eu to implement new parameters in data collection which help to highlight breeding values in breeding stocks from across Europe which relate to resistance to these different emerging diseases. So it just leaves me to say thank you for watching this short video on Work Package 6 and the sorts of things that we're hoping to do as part of this part of the Bee Guards project. If you want any more information on our plans, please look at beeguards.eu, our website. We'll be posting regular updates on there. We'll be posting blogs. We'll also be posting downloads on future invasive pests, how to recognise them and how to manage them. So please do visit our website if you would like any more information, and thanks again for watching this short video.